Greetings and welcome to the channel, all about Putin and occasionally about Russia and Russians. Mostly a Putin-centric channel. So this is something I put together on Russian vloggers, who they are, what they do, what they don't do. And I had to split this into two videos because it was too long. So this is the top tier. So this is how I categorized Russian vloggers. The first category are the fighters. True to themselves, very concerned about, the war in Ukraine, left Mother Russia to express views because they cannot be silenced. So they either left Russia because they were disgusted in Russia, which is the case with a lot of them, or because they, just had to get away because they knew they couldn't be silent, or because they knew they've been bad in the case of one guy. And as soon as the Duma passed that law 450 to 0, saying that if you spread false information, in other words, if you get information from outside of Russia on what's actually going on in the world and you spread that information, you can be put in jail for 15 years. So, that's crazy. But these are people who left the country because of that. Then I have the concerned, true to themselves, but careful not to be too outspoken, but kind of they're still outspoken a little bit. So more concerned, they express views as best as possible without being, arrested. So, and then the third tier, the people that are afraid, not concerned about anything, slightly concerned about the war maybe, but doing nothing about it, not even mentioning a conflict most of the time. And then we have the bottom dwellers who just focus on personal wealth, and there's a bunch of them. So they're focused on getting wealthy off of subscribers and Patreons and urge subscribers and to move to other platforms. Hey, YouTube might close down, follow me here because I still need to make money off of you. So that's basically their attitude. So the first guy we have on the top tier is Roman. So he runs this channel, NFKRZ. And I have a couple of videos outlined here, one on the bottom where, I left Russia. So, and then another one, the Russia that never was. So this guy's really realistic. He was born in 1998, so he's a young guy. He reminds me a lot of, he'll remind a lot of Americans of themselves back when they were, 22 years old or 24 years old. So, the one where I left Russia, now he had to leave Russia. Let's go down to the next page. So, yeah, he left Russia. I think he went somewhere else first and then ended up in Georgia, but I'm not sure where he went. I knew he did a video with Bald and Bankrupt, which is a British guy, so he's not really a Russian vlogger, but they both have a really, really big following. This guy, Roman, has over 1 million subscribers. So this is him leaving Russia and going to Georgia. And like I said, he left Russia because he would have been arrested as soon as that law was passed. He just got the hell out of Russia because he would be in jail if he stayed. But this video here, I say everyone should watch this video. So this is his story about, when he was younger, when he first started getting a little bit interested in politics. His new video is pretty good too, the one where, 80% support. So anyways, this one where, the Russia that, never was. He talks about, growing up and how he started slowly being interested in politics, and it was always the opposition that he was interested in, back in time, I don't know whether he named any people, but it's probably back in Boris Nemtsov time. So he's, anti-Russian, anti-government, anti-Putin. And this is just a really good video to watch. He speaks really fast. I left a message on one of his videos, say, how is it that you picked up a Bronx accent, because he does have like a Bronx accent. And I said, "Did you grow up watching, Godfather or The Sopranos or something?" Because he sounds like the Bronx kind of. But anyways, he's a good guy. He's one of the best Russian vloggers because he's not afraid to say anything until Georgia gets invaded by Russia. Then he's going to wind up in northern Siberia somewhere being tortured every day. This is the Expat Family live, and this is the video. I have two videos pointed out here. The one on the bottom, Russian expats share the truth. So they're already outside of Russia here when this invasion started. And, we're Russians and we want to talk. So what they talk about here, they already left Russia. They're outside of Russia. I forget where they were in that video. Maybe they went to Turkey. But they wound up in Amsterdam, and they bought a house. So that's pretty cool. It shows their apartment is being worked on. Well, they're cleaning up the apartment, and while their house is being worked on. So their house, it's pretty nice looking house, and their neighborhood is really nice, and they're really doing a lot of work on a new house, even though looked pretty good to start with, but they're re-drywalling and some places, and just really fixing it up really good. And these two, the videos on the top row where you have the yellow highlighting why Russians support this, why do they support the war. That's an interesting one to watch. But the two beside that, I don't think they did, because it looks like their interviews are still inside of Russia. So I think they had friends or something do those interviews and send it to them, because they're not in Russia anymore, and they wouldn't go to Russia because they've already said a lot of bad things about Russia. So anyways, these people are 4-star people too, top tier, really good people. And their purpose now is to talk about Russia and how they feel about Russia, how they feel about the Communist Party and Putin. Then we have Victoria, who on the bottom row, she's sitting on the floor between her bed and a little coffee table, having a coffee and sharing some thoughts there. That's a good video to watch. And then the we left Russia, 1 million views on that, because a Russian vlogger who's leaving Russia gets a lot of views. So on the bottom, she talks about, in this video, she talks about how the big buildup. That wasn't the first time, in February, where the Russian military was building up, right on the outskirts of Ukraine. It happened again, happened last year, or was it the year before? So that was just a practice run. And this year it was for good. So she talks about how everybody was shocked that the invasion actually happened, and after it happened, they got the hell out of there. And what's interesting, on the bottom video on the left, she just got her silver play button from YouTube, so she just reached 100,000 subscribers at that point, and then they left Russia. So it's kind of funny. They ended up in Uzbekistan. And they're having a pretty good life here, but they're still speaking out, and that's their job, because they're top tier people. So the best vloggers are the people who leave Russia and still criticize, because that's one way to let people inside of Russia know that there's Russians who don't believe in Putin and don't like him and don't like anything that he does. So it's important for these people to speak out, just for the people inside of Russia. We know what's going on. They don't. Then we have 1420, and this is a interesting channel, because I don't know who runs this channel. It never shows the guy. I don't think so. Can't think of a time where it showed the interviewer. But this is uncensored, and it's for outside of Russia. But I still don't know how this guy gets everybody to talk, because some of the things he asks are pretty touchy subjects, like the bottom one: do Russians want the empire back? And then the other two videos I have here, where do you get your information, and would you rape a Ukrainian woman? That's a pretty bold question there. Would you rape a Ukrainian woman? So here's, the empire. Would you want the empire back? Almost everybody said no. Old and young, which is weird because now in Russia, old and young are very divided. The old people support Putin and the young people do not. Mostly, they say Putin has an 80% approval rating, but that's not true. It's more like maybe 20%. So everybody in this video said no, because if you're old and you remember growing up under Khrushchev or somebody, Russia never was that great. Even back, it doesn't matter who was in power. If you spoke out against the government or did something you weren't allowed to do, you'd end up in a concentration camp somewhere. So they know it wasn't the best of times, having the USSR together. So almost everybody said no here. We don't want the empire back. The younger people say our country's great the way it is. If they're, Putin followers, they'll say, we like our country the way it is, and we have enough resources and stuff like that. But anyways, the next video, this is where the Russians get their information, and this is really divided, like 50-50. Older people watch Russian TV and listen to the radio and listen to Telegram, which is a Russian social media thing like, Twitter. Or they get it off of the internet or YouTube. And even some of those people that get their information from the internet or YouTube, they don't watch foreign stuff. They still watch internal Russian stuff. But there are some people, it's very divided here. Most of the younger generation know what's going on. They know how to do research and they know what to watch on YouTube to get the story, to understand what's going on. And then, would you rape a Ukrainian woman? Of course, everybody said no to that. And then a lot of people just spoke up and said they don't know if that's really happening, or it's a war. Things like that happen in war. So, pretty divided. Everybody said no, they wouldn't rape anybody, of course. But there's some, division here on whether they believe it's actually being, things like that are happening. Then we have Natasha. I've been following her for a long time. So she's a, good little girl from Eastern Russia. I forget the name of the town she's from, but it's north of Vladivostok, and she's from a really small town. And when she walks around in her own hometown, it's got like dirt streets outside of the city center. It's nothing to write home about. It's just a rundown little home, or little hometown, I mean. So, and she's kind of a funny girl. She just, she's getting pretty well known in her little tiny town. She's got 294,000 subscribers now. So she's got a boatload of subscribers, and she's really kind of always been, pessimistic, not really anti-Russian, but, pessimistic about the whole economy and the way of life in Russia, because she's been other places. She went to school at the University of Minnesota for a year, and she's really sad about that because she didn't get to go back. About the time that, the year after she returned to Russia, the U.S. and Russia started playing this game about, let's close down your embassy. I'm going to close down this embassy. Well, we're going to close this one down. And we're going to stop all visas. We're going to do that too. So she got stuck in that and wasn't able to return to school, and she's kind of bummed about that. But she's bummed about everything. She's not like a real happy, upbeat girl. She's just kind of funny. And her video here on the left is the one I pointed out. And what does she say about that? She almost said too much. I think she actually said enough in this video to get arrested. And that was 3 weeks ago. So hopefully she's still okay. She's not posting anything, and that's the first time she posted in a couple months. So ever since the invasion, she hadn't posted anything except for this one update 3 weeks ago, and I think we're like in week 5 of the war now. So hopefully she's all right, but she is not real happy about what's happening, and she's not a happy camper anyway. So anyways, I hope she's okay, because you get to following these people and you get to know them a little bit, and you hope they're all right. Then we have Russian Feel. I haven't been following her that long, but a while. And the two videos I picked out here was we lost our jobs, and the why Russians never protest. And here's what I wrote about that. Her and her husband both lost their job at the same time. And, they're down in southern Russia, some resort, it must be close to Sochi or something like that. And in the middle of the video, the one in here that I didn't highlight, I watched it too. They've got a really beautiful house that they're renting part of for $500 a month. It's pretty laid out, old Victorian style house. It's really cool looking. So anyways, both her and her husband lost their jobs, and now they've got to go back to St. Petersburg without jobs, without any income, and they're both making money off the internet. So that'll be tough. And then the latest video she has, why Russians never protest. So this is why I gave her 3 stars instead of 2, because she really doesn't come out and say bad things about the war and encourage people to protest or anything like that. But she does explain a few things in this video. It's pretty entertaining because she, her job in St. Petersburg, she was a tour guide, and she would take people around St. Petersburg. St. Petersburg is my favorite city in Russia. Moscow's pretty cool too, but St. Petersburg is just, my favorite. And I forget where she's from in St. Petersburg. That reminds me, there's another girl here I didn't include, but she's not really Russian anymore. She's living in California. But the way she put this, she started explaining that, there's something in Russian folklore or some saying that, rulers either roll with a stick or a carrot. A carrot means feed the people, and a stick means beat the people. So she said Russians have to have a dictator. They need a dictator because that's what they're used to. And she just gave a bunch of examples, like, Peter the Great. She talked about him for a little bit and said, he was known as a, vicious and bad ruler that was, mean to people. I don't know much about Peter the Great. I've been to Peterhof, and I've been in the Winter Palace. There's a bunch of statues of Peter the Great all over St. Petersburg. Guy was a big dude. He was not like Putin. I think he was like 6'6", something like that. A big boy. But anyways, she went over some of the rulers and how they, only a couple of them were like carrot rulers that treated the people nice. And the ones that beat people up and put them in concentration camps, that's what Russia needs. That's what Russian people, respond to. So she explains why Russians never protest, because that's their job, being subjects of a dictator. So that's a pretty interesting viewpoint. So that's it. That's the end of the top tier. So you should watch the other video, the second one in this series, to see what's happening with the vloggers who are all in it for themselves. I appreciate your time.